Hey, what's up guys, Tony here, and you're watching some more iRacing. And in this video, what we're going to be watching is a race that I had for last week, week 4 of the iRacing IndyCar Series. It was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and what I want to talk about is the 500. And some of you, if you're an iRacer, you know this. If not, then I'm going to let you know now. They canceled the Indy 500, the iRacing Indy 500, last weekend. Well, yeah, this was last weekend due to technical difficulties. There was some sort of unexpected bug with the 500, and Friday night when we were all getting into race, it was 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern was the race time, and we had like 800 people registered to race. It was amazing. I mean, on the GT3 series, when you would see that, you would see like 150 people registered for a race. You're just like, holy shit, that's a lot of people. And for the Indy 500, 800 was a fair number of people, especially for how late it was. I remember last year, it wasn't that late. It was kind of midday, and I think some people weren't able to race in it because it was literally in the middle of the day. It was like a 2 o'clock race or a 1 o'clock race or whatever. On the flip side, though, having a race at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, you're looking at like a 4-hour race. You should like kind of balancing it out. You're like, well, you know, like when do we put it? Anyways, so they canceled it. And what I kind of wanted to do is I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the 500 and like why I'm actually pretty bummed that the 500 was canceled. And if you've been around my channel for a while, then you'll know this. If you're just coming to this channel, this is your first video, and you happen to be stumbling across this IndyCar video or this IndyCar race, I'm not really much of an oval fan, to be honest. I have a greater appreciation for the difficulty of oval racing now that I've given it a try, because I'm a C-class driver at this current point in my iRacing career at the making of this video. And I had to get through, D rookie and D class, and I had to run the NASCAR oval cars, and I'm just not a fan. I don't like them, and I'm not really too keen on racing anything that's like NASCAR. And I don't mean that as like a slide against NASCAR. I understand and I appreciate the difficulty for the racing and for the driving and the skill that's required to be competitive in that version of motorsports. It's just not my cup of tea, and I've never really been a fan of oval at all. But IndyCar has been that one exception. I remember when I was a kid, there was this, I think it was on the Super Nintendo, but when I was a kid, there was this game, Michael Andretti's Racing or IndyCar Racing or something to that effect, and I played a lot of that. I played the shit out of that as a kid, and I really liked it. I don't know why, but I really dug Michael Andretti's IndyCar Racing, or whatever the name of the title of the game was. And so when I got into iRacing a little over a year ago now, it's been about 15 months or so. I feel like I'm like counting the age of a baby, because people count the ages of babies in months until they're like 2 years. People are like, oh, 24 months. I think it's like once they hit 2 years old, they're like, oh, 2 years. Then it becomes years. But before like the 2-year mark, it's months. Even I think at 24 months, people are like, oh, 24 months. But if it's before 2 years, it's in months. So now I'm counting my iRacing career in months right now. So it's 15 months, just about 15 months. And I've always been a fan of road racing. Even when I was younger, I really wanted to get into road racing. I remember watching on TV on Speed Vision, when there was a Speed Vision there, I would watch like the British touring car with the front wheel drive, like Civics, and what other cars did they have back then? I don't remember, like Peugeots or something like that. European cars, basically, that we don't have here in the States, minus the Civic. But I went to the American Le Mans up in Monterey at Laguna Seca, and it was like the RSX Type S was running, the BMW 3 Series BMW. There was the Mazda 3 was running in that. There was all these different cars that were running in the American Le Mans class. They also had a GT3 race, a Porsche GT3 race. Anyways, try not to get too sidetracked. but I've always been a fan of road racing. And so when I jumped into iRacing, one of the two guys that were really instrumental in my early participation in iRacing, one of them was a big-time oval guy, one of them was a road guy. And I knew the guy, Robin, who's the oval guy, better than Andy, who's the road guy. And now I know them equally, but at the time I knew Robin better. You know, he was someone who I talked with far more frequently, on the whole, because Andy was there, but just in a different capacity than like cars and stuff like that. So the push was to get me to drive oval because Robin wanted an oval person, like an oval partner, someone to draft with. And I was just like, not really, dude. It's like I'm not really big on it at all. Like in any capacity, I really don't want to do it. And then the Indy 500 came up last year, and I ran in the rookie class, and out of the possible 400 laps, I completed 20 because I was wrecked out of the Indy 500. Guys, I didn't qualify for one. I had a really fast setup. That was actually the thing about last year, is that I had this really, really fast, from what I understand, it was professionally built, but it was a top secret like build that I got. And it was amazing. It was stupid fast, and it was wasted on my rookie skills. It was retardedly fast. And after the fact, like even after that, I kept practicing at the Indy 500, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, in a private practice, because I was just so obsessed. Like I just felt like robbed. I got 20 laps down. I think one race I got almost 10 laps, or maybe I got a little more than 10 laps. I don't know. I could put in the description, I'll put a link to my video from last year that shows Indy 500 so you could see what I went through. And that left not a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest, because I ran 20 laps and out of a possible 400, and I was just kind of like, I want more. Like that's the feeling I had. I want more of this. But I don't want NASCAR. I want the Indy stuff. That's what I want. That's what I'm like totally jazzed about. And it honestly, it put the fire, the passion in me for the IndyCar, the Indy Series. And for the longest time throughout the remainder of the year, I had to really force myself to go in and run the street stock. And I had to force myself to go and run the peak antifreeze last season, enough so I could get my I rating up over 3 and I can get my minimum participation. And then I left it there until I got promoted. And then that's when I was like, holy crap, I can run IndyCar. And so that's what you're watching. You're watching week 4 of this IndyCar series. And I love it a lot. More than I actually thought I would. But again, I'm not really all that interested on running anything else besides Indy for oval. I'd like to give it a try for road. And now this year, with the Indy 500, the DW12 was released, and that car is a beautiful car. It's like super stable. The baseline setup is super stable. I mean, you could full throttle throughout the entire 500 or throughout the entire Indianapolis Motor Speedway, whereas like the default, the fixed setup for the Dallara, this now previous generation, the one that you're seeing me run, there's not as much wiggle room. There's a lot more downforce with the DW12 than this Dallara. You kind of have to lift going into turn 1. And so anyways, it was exciting, and it was one of those things that I started to build strategies for how I wanted to attack this 500, and I spent a lot of time practicing. This is like the Indianapolis, practicing for the Indianapolis 500 at the Motor Speedway. It was one of those things where it's just like, it was the one track that I probably have spent the most time overall of all the tracks that I've practiced. I probably have spent the most time for one specific event practicing on that track. I practiced all week last year. I practiced a good chunk of this week, or last week at Indy, and I was really prepared, and it shows in this race. I was really prepared. There were a couple turns that I kind of mucked, but some of it has to do with transitioning from the DW12 back to this car because they handle totally differently. Not totally differently. It's not like night and day, but there are characteristics of the DW12 that aren't there for the older car. So you got to be a little bit more careful with this Dallara that you're seeing in this video. But I was totally amped. I was totally excited for the Indy 500 this year, and I had a game plan that, unlike last year, which I got a really fast, and it was actually a really stable setup as well. That was the other remarkable thing. It was fast and stable. But this year, without that hookup for that awesome setup, I decided that because all I wanted to do was survive. I wanted to survive. That was the name of the game, and I didn't get a chance to survive because I was really kind of, I got wrecked out. Like, people hit me. It's not anything I could have done, but I was really focused on being fast and trying to win. Not win, but just try to be up towards the front. And this year I was more focused on stability and maintaining my position and just sort of waiting out all the people that were going to wreck so I could finally get into a position where I could be competitive with the top of the pack. And I ran a couple of hosted sessions, and I led a couple hosted sessions, and I had good battles with the 1-2 battle with this guy in this hosted session. And it was a lot of fun. And I was like, okay, cool. I've got a setup that works. It's stable, and I can be competitive. I'm not that as fast as the guys running like 39s because I was running low 40s. But anyways, I was totally ready for it. So when we lost the 500 for the weekend because of technical difficulties, I was a little upset. I really was. I was disappointed. But I'm not one of the people like totally grabbing the pitchforks and screaming at the people of iRacing that they need to give me a refund and that they're money grubbing horse. Like, there's a lot of drama going on. There's a lot of dirty laundry that's being aired out right now and directed towards iRacing because of just this right here. It really is sort of a comedy of errors, excuse me, and is one of those series that iRacing promotes is like a big event, like come do this big event, and they use it as a marketing tool, and unfortunately it didn't happen. So from what I've been reading in the forums, it seems like the good people at iRacing are looking to give us credit. If we bought the DW12, they're going to give us a credit, and they're looking to possibly reschedule. So there is a chance that I'll be able to run the Indy 500 anyways. It might not happen this week. More than likely won't happen this week, and more than likely won't happen next week either. Maybe a month from now. I don't know. Maybe they'll set up a special time for us to go ahead and run the Indy 500 again, but I know a lot of us are looking to run it, and so some people are they want refunds and the whole thing. They want refunds for the track, they want refunds for the car, and maybe they'll get those. But there's a lot of us who are just like, hey, look, I was going to buy the car anyways, I already own the track, I just want to run, so let's reschedule. And that's the camp that I'm a part of. I'm not really screaming to burn down iRacing and call them money grubbing horse. I just really want them to reschedule because I really want to run. So anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the race. It was a really exciting race. It was kind of a nail biter to the end. I thought I might have been catching this guy, but that just didn't happen. But anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I shall talk to you guys later.